A 79-year-old man was found lifeless in his bedroom, not from a heart attack in his sleep, not from a fall or a stroke. The cause? Something deeply personal. Something rarely talked about in the open. It was masturbation. Now, I know that might sound shocking. For many people, especially as we age, self-pleasure is seen as harmless, even healthy. And most of the time, it is. But here's what no one ever tells you. It's not always about the act itself. It's about the timing. I'm Dr. Richard Hale, a board-certified urologist and men's health specialist. I've spent over 60 years working with aging adults, fathers, grandfathers, husbands, men just like you. And I've seen firsthand how a simple, natural behavior can become dangerous if done at the wrong moment. What if I told you there are specific times of day when solo activity could actually place your heart and your life at serious risk? It sounds unbelievable, but the data is real. I've reviewed the emergency reports, I've spoken with families, and in several tragic cases, everything seemed fine, until a quiet private habit turned fatal in minutes, not because of shame or guilt, but because the body wasn't ready. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 7 of the most dangerous times to masturbate if you're over 60. Times when your blood pressure, circulation, medications, or even your emotional state could turn a moment of relief into a medical crisis. And before we dive into those life-saving insights, I want to say this clearly. This is not about fear or judgment. It's about awareness. About helping you care for your body, your heart, and your dignity. Because you still matter. Your well-being matters. So if you're watching this and thinking, no one ever told me that, you're not alone. Stay with me. These next few minutes could save your life, or the life of someone you care deeply about. Let's begin. Let's begin with the first, and perhaps most surprising, danger zone, between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the morning. I know what you might be thinking. Isn't early morning the calmest, quietest time of day? A perfect moment for privacy? But medically speaking, it's one of the riskiest times for older adults to engage in any intense physical activity, including masturbation. Here's why. Between 4 and 6 a.m., your body experiences what we call the morning surge. It's a natural biological process where your blood pressure rises sharply to prepare you for waking. For younger people, this transition is usually smooth. But for adults over 60, whose blood vessels may have stiffened and whose hearts may be more sensitive, that spike can be dangerous. Now, let's layer in the effects of sexual arousal. Masturbation, even gentle, is a physical activity. It increases heart rate, expands blood vessels, and activates the sympathetic nervous system. In other words, it temporarily stresses the cardiovascular system. When you combine this stress with the already elevated blood pressure of the morning surge, you're asking your heart to work harder before it's fully ready. I've read tragic case reports where older individuals were found unresponsive in their beds or bathrooms during these early hours. In many of these cases, doctors later identified the cause as a cardiovascular event triggered by overexertion during the morning surge. The problem isn't the act, it's the timing. Your body, just waking up, is in a vulnerable transition phase. Systems are still regulating, circulation is adjusting, and blood flow is finding its rhythm. Adding stimulation in that fragile window is like starting a race before your shoes are tied. So what's the solution? Wait. Give your body time to fully wake up and stabilize. Aim for later in the morning, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., when your cardiovascular system is more prepared. And remember, awareness is your strongest defense. Don't mistake stillness for safety. Sometimes the quietest hours hide the greatest risks. Let's continue, because there are 6 more times just as dangerous and just as misunderstood. The second dangerous moment may surprise you just as much as the first, because it happens in a routine most seniors follow daily, right after taking your blood pressure medication. Many older adults begin their morning by swallowing 1 or more pills designed to regulate their heart and blood pressure. These medications save lives every day. But here's what most people don't know. They don't work instantly. They peak in effect about 1 to 2 hours after ingestion. And during that window, your blood pressure can drop lower than normal, a condition known as hypotension. Now imagine you decide to engage in masturbation during this time. Your heart rate rises, blood vessels dilate, hormones surge, but your blood pressure is already artificially lowered. This can result in what I call the double drop effect, One drop from your medication, and a second drop from the act itself. The outcome? Dizziness, disorientation, sudden fainting, even a temporary lack of oxygen to the brain, called syncope. And because masturbation is usually done in private, a fall or blackout can go unnoticed. I've seen cases where individuals were found unconscious on the floor hours later after simply losing their balance post-climax. In more severe scenarios, the impact to the head or a lack of immediate help could even trigger a stroke. It's not something to be ashamed of, it's something to be aware of. So what should you do? Wait at least 2 hours after taking your blood pressure medication before engaging in any activity that increases your heart rate, whether that's exercise, intimacy, or solo pleasure. Give your body the time it needs to adjust and stabilize. And remember, medication timing isn't just about convenience, it's about survival. Understanding how your pills interact with your body's natural responses can make the difference between a safe moment and a crisis. There are more hidden risks like this ahead, some even more subtle. Let's keep going. There's something comforting about a hot shower, isn't there? Especially as we age. That warmth soothes the joints, eases stiffness, and gives us a peaceful way to start or end the day. But what if I told you that masturbating immediately after a hot shower could put your body under silent, dangerous stress? Let me explain. Hot water relaxes your muscles, but it also causes your blood vessels to dilate. This lowers your blood pressure and pulls blood away from your brain to help cool your body. Now combine that with the demands of sexual stimulation. Heart rate increases, blood pressure fluctuates, and your nervous system kicks into high gear. The result? Your body is being asked to cool down and heat up at the same time. For many seniors, this sudden tug of war leads to lightheadedness, heart palpitations, disorientation, and in rare cases, even fainting or arrhythmia. I've had patients describe a moment of relief turning into panic, standing up after climax, only to feel the room spinning or their knees buckle. And remember, this often happens in private, behind closed bathroom doors. If you fall, especially on hard tile or wet flooring, you may not be found in time. The consequences can be serious: head injuries, broken bones, or worse. So what can you do? Simple. Give your body 30 to 45 minutes to stabilize after a hot shower or bath. Let your temperature and circulation return to normal before you engage in any physical stimulation. And one more tip: don't rush. Just because your body feels relaxed doesn't mean it's ready. Respect the transition. You deserve that kind of care. Hot water may calm the mind, but combine it with the wrong timing, and it could quietly stress the heart. Let's keep going, because nighttime too holds a hidden risk few people see coming. It's the end of the day. The house is still. The world has quieted down. And for many older adults, late night between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. feels like the perfect time for solitude, even self-pleasure. But I want to gently warn you, this window of time holds hidden dangers, not just for your body, but for your mind. Let's start with the physical. As we age, our brain's ability to stay sharp at night declines. Neurologists call this circadian cognitive fatigue. It means slower reflexes, impaired balance, and reduced awareness. So when you combine late-night fatigue with the drop in blood pressure and hormonal shifts after climax, you're more likely to feel dizzy, unsteady, or disoriented. I've seen far too many cases where older adults fell while heading to the bathroom afterward, or fainted while trying to stand. It's not just embarrassing, it's dangerous. And then there's the emotional side. Nighttime is when feelings of loneliness, sadness, or grief tend to surface. For some, masturbation becomes more about numbing emotion than nurturing the body. The result? A temporary lift, followed by a deeper crash. You may not even realize you're using it to avoid what your heart is truly asking for: connection, conversation, or healing. So what's the safer path? Try shifting this activity to the late morning or early afternoon, when your brain is more alert, your balance is stronger, and your emotional state is more stable. And if this insight is resonating with you, even just a little, let me invite you to take one simple step. Click subscribe and turn on the bell. That way you won't miss the rest of this life-saving series. We're building a safe space for honest conversations around aging, intimacy, and vitality. You belong here. There's more to uncover, because your safety doesn't just depend on time. It depends on hydration too. Let's talk about that next. Most people don't realize this, but you wake up every morning already a little dehydrated. You've just gone 6 to 8 hours, sometimes more, without drinking a single drop of water. And for seniors, this natural dehydration poses a unique risk, especially when paired with a stimulating activity like masturbation. Let's break it down. Overnight, your body loses moisture through breathing and perspiration. You're not sweating buckets, but it's enough to thicken the blood and slow circulation. So when you first get out of bed, your cardiovascular system is running on low fluid volume. Now imagine introducing physical stimulation into that state. Your heart starts pumping faster, your blood vessels dilate, and hormones like dopamine and oxytocin surge. What happens next? You may experience orthostatic hypotension, a sudden drop in blood pressure when standing or shifting position. It can leave you feeling dizzy, weak, or even cause you to collapse. I've had patients tell me, "I felt fine 1 second, then the next thing I knew, I was on the floor. No warning, no time to react." And if you're alone, help may not come quickly. Here's the good news. This one is easy to fix. Start every morning with a full glass of water, before coffee, before breakfast, and certainly before any intimate activity. Give your body at least 15 to 30 minutes to absorb the fluid, stabilize blood flow, and support healthy brain oxygenation. It's a small change with a huge impact. And here's a simple tip. Keep a water bottle by your bed. Make it part of your wake-up routine. Your heart, your brain, and your balance will thank you. Hydration isn't just about comfort. It's about safety. Now, even if your body feels strong and well hydrated, there's another silent risk we need to talk about. And it's one that builds slowly, every time you sit still for too long. Let's talk about circulation. Let me ask you something. Have you ever spent an hour, or maybe several, sitting in your favorite chair, watching TV or reading, and then stood up too quickly? That dizzy spell you felt, that lightheaded moment, that's your body struggling to reboot circulation. As we get older, our blood vessels lose some of their flexibility, and our heart doesn't adjust quite as fast when we go from resting to moving. So here's the hidden risk. If you've been sitting or lying down for a long time, then suddenly begin stimulating activity like masturbation, your body might not be ready. What happens is this. Blood tends to pool in the lower body during long periods of stillness, especially in the legs. When you suddenly shift positions or increase your heart rate, the body may not compensate fast enough. The result? A sharp drop in blood pressure, dizziness, weakness, even fainting. And that's not all. Sitting for too long can also increase your risk of blood clots, particularly in the legs. Add physical exertion to the mix, and you're putting more demand on your heart and lungs in a compromised state. I've had patients fall not during the act, but right after, when standing up too fast. They thought they were okay until they weren't. So what's the smarter way? Before any kind of stimulation, get your circulation moving. Stand up slowly. Stretch. Walk around your room. Move your legs and arms. Let your body ease into activity instead of leaping into it. It only takes a few minutes, but it can prevent a serious fall or worse. This is the kind of wisdom that keeps you safe without giving up what makes you feel alive. But even if your body is ready, your emotions might not be. Let's talk next about emotional vulnerability and why acting on impulse in a moment of sadness may quietly take more from you than it gives. Not every danger shows up in your blood pressure or your heartbeat. Some of the most powerful risks come from something far less visible: your emotional state. As we get older, emotional pain becomes more familiar. The loss of a partner, children moving far away, health changes that affect how we see ourselves. And in those quiet, vulnerable moments, self-pleasure can become something else entirely. It may begin as a way to feel comfort, to reconnect with your body, to chase away the ache of loneliness. But when masturbation becomes a habit used to numb sadness, avoid grief, or silence longing, it stops being life-giving and starts becoming emotionally draining. Let me be clear, there is no shame in seeking comfort. But when the act is driven by emotional pain instead of emotional connection, you risk creating a cycle: temporary relief, emotional crash, isolation, and repeat. Over time, this cycle can quietly erode your emotional resilience. You may withdraw from relationships. You may feel more alone, not less. And worst of all, you may begin to think you don't deserve real intimacy, just a moment of escape. I've seen this in my patients. Men who began with honest intentions, but slipped into a pattern that slowly hollowed them out. So what can you do instead? First, ask yourself gently, am I doing this for connection, or am I running from something deeper? Second, consider reaching out. A friend, a therapist, a support group. Connection is not weakness, it's medicine. You're not meant to carry everything alone. And third, remember this, your body and your heart both deserve care. True pleasure isn't just physical, it's emotional safety too. In the final part of this series, we'll bring it all together and explore how to make self-pleasure safe, healing, and empowering after 60. You've come this far. Let's finish strong. Sometimes it starts with just one glass of wine to wind down, or a sleeping pill to help ease into the night. And for many seniors, these are common evening rituals. Nothing extreme, nothing reckless. But here's what most people don't realize. Alcohol and sedative medications both affect your nervous system, your blood pressure, and your ability to think clearly. So when you combine that altered state with something physically stimulating, like masturbation, you may be setting yourself up for serious harm. Let me explain. Both alcohol and sleep aids are central nervous system depressants. They slow down your brain's ability to respond, reduce coordination, lower blood pressure, and impair judgment. Now add the effects of sexual arousal, faster heartbeat, shifting hormones, lower vascular resistance. Your body is now being pulled in two directions, heightened stimulation and dulled awareness. This can lead to dizziness, sudden drops in blood pressure, loss of balance or motor control, even blackouts or brief unconsciousness. And because these substances affect memory and reflexes, you may not notice warning signs or be able to react if something feels off. I've seen patients fall in the bathroom, collapse on the way to bed, or wake up hours later on the floor, confused and shaken. So what's the smart approach? Give your body time. Wait at least 4 to 6 hours after consuming alcohol or taking a sleep aid before engaging in any physically stimulating activity. And if you feel groggy, mentally foggy, or emotionally off, skip it. Listen to what your body is telling you. This is about care, not restriction. About choosing presence over risk. Because even private moments deserve safety. And now, let's move to the part that ties it all together. How to practice self-pleasure with confidence, awareness, and dignity. After everything we've explored, the risks, the timing, the emotional layers, many people ask me the same thing. Doctor, is it still okay for me to masturbate? And my answer is simple. Yes, if you do it with care. Self-pleasure doesn't have to disappear with age. In fact, it can remain a deeply nourishing part of your relationship with your own body. But just like exercise or eating well, it needs to be done with awareness and respect for how your body is changing. So here's my practical guide to staying safe, healthy, and confident. 1. Pick the right time of day. Aim for late morning to early afternoon between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. This is when your blood pressure is stable, your brain is alert, and your energy is naturally higher. 2. Hydrate first. Drink a full glass of water 15 to 30 minutes beforehand. It supports circulation, prevents dizziness, and helps keep oxygen flowing to your brain. 3. Warm up your body. Don't jump in cold. Stretch. Walk around. Let your body slowly transition from stillness to stimulation. 4. Create a safe environment. Make sure the floor isn't slippery, the room is well lit, and you're in a stable position, especially if you have balance concerns. 5. Time it away from medication or alcohol. Avoid self-pleasure within 2 hours of taking blood pressure meds, and at least 4 to 6 hours after alcohol or sleep aids. 6. Check your emotional state. Ask yourself, am I doing this for joy, connection, or comfort, or am I trying to numb something deeper? The goal isn't just pleasure, it's wholeness. When your physical actions align with emotional awareness, intimacy becomes healing, not harmful. You deserve that. You've earned that. In the next and final part, we'll tie everything together and remind ourselves that growing older doesn't mean losing who we are. It simply means learning how to care for ourselves more gently, more wisely, and with greater love. If you've made it this far, you've done something powerful. You've stepped into a conversation that most people your age were never invited to have. And instead of ignoring it or laughing it off, you chose to listen, to reflect, to care. Let me tell you, that matters. Growing older doesn't mean giving up pleasure. It doesn't mean silence, shame, or pretending your needs no longer exist. What it does mean is learning how to adapt with wisdom, because your body changes, your heart changes, and the way you care for both should change too. So how do you make self-pleasure safe, healing, and empowering after 60? Let's keep it simple. Choose the right time of day. Mid to late morning is ideal, when your mind is sharp, your heart is stable, and your energy is balanced. Hydrate first. 1 glass of water 15 to 30 minutes beforehand can prevent dizziness and protect your brain. Move your body, stretch, walk, wake up your circulation. Avoid risky windows. Don't combine this activity with medications, alcohol, exhaustion, or grief. And most importantly, check in with your emotions. Ask yourself, am I nourishing myself or avoiding something painful? Because the truth is, intimacy isn't just physical. It's emotional, spiritual, and deeply human. And it doesn't expire when you retire. In fact, it may matter more now than ever. So as you move forward, do it with intention, with self-respect, with love for this version of yourself. Your age is not a barrier. It's a teacher. Your body isn't broken. It's asking for gentler care. And your desire? It's still valid, still beautiful, still yours. Thank you for being here. And if this series helped you, please consider subscribing to the channel and share it with someone you trust, a friend, a partner, a parent. You never know who might need to hear what you just learned. Let's protect each other with truth, wisdom, and dignity, one quiet moment at a time.